Okay guys, Tuesday the 12th of December, and I've just been triggered into a long position after this 3:30 p.m. pin bar. So we're actually on the NASDAQ today, but we are continuing on with that cautious trading approach. So for this trade, we are once again risking £300. And what we're looking for is relatively safe entries, whereby we are picking a nearby management point, so the closest area where the trade can potentially move against us. And then once the trade reaches that level, we simply bring our stop to break even. So on this trade, it's back up toward this little previous swing point, really this whole section right here. Let's just mark it in. If the trade reaches that level, I would simply consider the stop to be at break even. If we then started to press back down toward the entry point, I would simply exit the trade. Now we have came down and put in a bullish bounce. I actually took this as an entry earlier at 235 and the market spiked up and then came back down and took me out at break even. Didn't quite reach the profit target that I was looking for, which was going to be up into these levels, around about the round number 7,400. However, the market has then came back down once again. It has given me another signal right here at 230, and what we're potentially doing is creating a double bottom. So we're giving another little confluence to get into the trade. So let me just get rid of these arrows. Now for the NASDAQ, we have been pretty much testing up at this area all day, so pre-market, and then the US Open happened. We came crashing down into this zone right here, relatively strong bearish movement down right here. However, what I was looking at was on the daily time frame, we have a good level of structure right here. So for me, when we came down and started to bounce, and certainly now that we've came back down and gave a second retest, I was more than happy to look for that bullish position. So all we're doing, I'm not doing anything until the market reaches that management point. This is the point when the trade can move against you and take you out for that full position loss. The whole point of cautious trading is that you are approaching the market and only looking for those entries that are giving you enough confluences that you're going to have very few full position losses. And they're still going to happen. You know, it's impossible to avoid losses in trading. I always go over that. If you're trying to completely eradicate losses, what ends up happening is that you end up trading with an absolutely enormous stop. Anybody who sort of, this doesn't mean to say that everyone who has a large stop is like this, but what I tend to find is people who can't really handle losses, they tend to have an enormous stop. And what they do is they take lots of trades. So 50, 60, 70 trades where they make a very small amount of profit, but their stop is so large that then when the stop gets hit, it basically wipes out all of that profit they have made. So for me, with this cautious approach, what we're doing is we're trying to avoid as many of the losses as possible. And the way we do that is that we pick the first sensible area that we want to watch, whereby we determine that if the market reaches this point and then starts to come against us once again, it's likely, or it is very possible, that it's going to come down into our stop level, and we simply decide that we're going to move our stop to break even as soon as it reaches that point. And what we're looking for are the trades with the strong momentum that just continue on toward our target. Okay, so let me get rid of these arrows. Now for this trade, I'm looking for really minimum of 8 points. So let's mark that in also. We've got our entry sitting right here. So it's back up into this zone, around about 7,395. We'll just mark that in. So around about here. Just bring this down a little bit to here. So this is the profit target. If we get into this level, I will just come out of the trade. I'll just take profits, and then I will call it a day. So let's see how we get on with this one. I will pause the video. There's absolutely nothing to do unless we reach this management point or if we start to come back down toward the stop level. Okay guys, the market has popped up and hit that management area, so we're now considering the trade to be at the break-even level. We're actually just spiking up here. Just going to keep my eye on the trade as we're talking, because this is the target area right here. If we spike up into that level, I will just look to take profit. Now with this trade, I actually looked at this after I stopped the first part of that video. Now we had the second entry right here, so I had the first one back here. Didn't work out, came back to break even, had the second entry right here. I was looking for the management point, which I identified right here. Now looking at it again, there was the potential to have identified this level as the management point. The main time I noticed this was after this 335. and we got the rejection. The reason I'm going over this is because after I'd seen this, after I'd seen the rejection, this is when it becomes more likely that you start to doubt yourself. Once you get into a trade, it's, you know, you should do most of your work before you get into the trade. So I'm looking at this, it's my mind sparking up saying, well, wait a second, this could be the management point here, it could just be rejecting, and it's going to come down and stop you out. So what I start to do is run through the confluences that I had before I got into the trade. You know, those are the reasons that I set the trade in the first place. So for me, I just thought back. First one, I considered this to be a key zone. I mentioned the levels of structure that helped to add to the confluence. It's already bounced once, so if anything, this little bounce here gave me another little bit of confidence. It then came back, it held for a potential double bottom. Now, the main thing I looked at with this double bottom is that it's spiked much higher than the first time. So what this is telling me is the buyers stepped in here, then we've came back down, and the buyers have stepped back in at a higher level. They've actually stepped in at this potential support area right here. So again, it's just another little confluence that potentially the bulls are in at least short-term control. Now, all of that added up gave me the confidence to enter the trade with the center of what would be the double bottom as the management point. Now, there's nothing to say that this would have rejected and then came back down and stopped me out. And what's very easy to do if that happens is to start beating yourself up. To start saying things like, this was the management point, why did you not identify that? You did it incorrectly, this loss is completely your fault. As a trader, especially if you're learning, it's really important that you don't let that happen too often. I don't mean that you make mistakes. You know, if you're making mistakes, fair enough, you need to start correcting those mistakes. What I mean is that you get into a trade, you've done all of your analysis, you've came up with what you determined to be a solid reasoning for the trade, but then once you get in the trade, and because you're starting to basically fear losing money, you start to doubt yourself, and you start to make up different excuses for not being in the trade. If you do that, you know, you're honestly, you're just going to tear yourself apart. It makes it so difficult to trade effectively. So for me, I already had all the reasons, first of all. If I didn't have the reasons, then yeah, no doubt I would have started panicking as soon as I seen this, especially when I started to see this. Thinking back to when I was first starting, I would have likely just exited. I probably would have got short. The market would have then moved up against me. I would have panicked again, tried to get long. When I seen this, I would have jumped out, started to go short. That's, you know, that's what people who are emotional trading do. You need to try and weed that out. And one of the best ways to do it is to do all of your analysis before you get into the trade. So even if this had come down and stopped me out for a full position loss, I know that I would have been not happy with the loss. You're never happy with a loss, but I would have been happy in my reasoning for getting into the trade. Okay guys, so we have spiked up. We didn't quite reach that target level as yet. We are now starting to see a little bit of rejection. Nothing to say this now will not come back down against me, take me out at break even. But as I've mentioned, this is the target level. Really between 0.7 to 1 risk to reward and 1 to 1 risk to reward. So let's see how we get on. Okay guys, so the market has spiked up into that profit target. It actually exited when this candle was forming right here. It pressed up, it started to hold at this 396 level, started to reject. So I closed out for around about 8 points. So the market came down, as I mentioned, bounced the first time, came back down for that second touch. I was looking at it as a potential double bottom. It then spiked up. We didn't quite get there at 355. We rejected back down, but I just looked at it as the stop was at break even. And then we have pressed up into the profit level. So next week is the week leading up to Christmas, which means this is very likely going to be the last live trade video. In fact, 100%, this will definitely be the last live trade video until next year. You know, next week tends to be very, very quiet. It's very unlikely that I will be taking any trades. I have been watching the NASDAQ and the FTSE today, so I'm happy I managed to get a live trade put together. Coming into next year, I will be watching the NASDAQ and the FTSE together. So some of the live trade videos will be coming off of this market. For zone traders especially the subscribers, with this market getting added next year, I have found that it's very, very similar to the FTSE. I think you guys are going to like trading it a lot. It just gives you another thing to watch each trading day. So quickly, in fact, something else worthwhile going over. So I've just posted this live trade. Came up to the profit target and we made profit. So let's have a quick look actually. Let's see, gain today. So £217.16. When you are watching live trade videos from traders, it's very easy to watch the videos and think, okay, I should be getting lots of these winning trades. For me today, I've already mentioned, I took this as an entry at 235. It spiked up, it came back down, took me out of break even. Where's the FTSE window? Here. The FTSE. So I haven't got anything marked in anymore. Where were we? I think we were around about here. I took, which one was it? I took this as an entry. It spiked up, it came back down and took me out of break even. So you've had 2 break even trades in a day. Now this can happen lots of times. You can have, you know, it can just be break even all day, and it can get very, very frustrating. It's worthwhile noting that everybody goes through this. I don't just come to the markets, you know, turn it on, see this, enter a trade and smash into profit. There's lots of frustration for everybody as a trader. The reason it's important to understand that is because if you do understand it, you expect it. And if you expect it, you stop trying to compensate when it happens by jumping around markets, jumping in and out of trades. It's all just part of trading, guys. You know, I look at it as just a time to do other things. When the market is not behaving itself, I just take the break-even trade, then I sit back, I'll read a book, I'll catch up on some emails, something like that. I don't want to start forcing the market. Okay guys, so as I've mentioned, last live trade video of the year. All I want to say actually is Decisive Trading, the YouTube channel, is now approaching 50,000 subscribers. So I want to say a big thank you to you guys once again. You know, when I load up the YouTube channel and I see that, it's actually really difficult for me to believe what I'm seeing. Did not expect it at all when I first started this channel, but all I can say again, guys, is thank you so much. I hope you all have a great Christmas period. Spend time with your family, have a great time. And as always, I hope this video was helpful. I hope you've all had a great trading week, a great trading year. And if you've not had a great trading year, if this is maybe your first year into trading, you're still learning, this 2018, and I hope you all have a great 2018, and I will speak to you at the start of the year. So I'm James Orr, and thank you.